Today on the show, our semifinals are set for World Cup 2026. And guess what, David? It is the first, second, third, and fourth ranked teams in the world rankings. How about that? That's all coming up, including VAR controversies, star showings, and that's it. Those are the only two things that happened in the quarterfinals. That's coming up next. Live from San Jose, California, and Brooklyn, New York. It is the Any Given Thursday podcast. That's it. That's the end of the show. I just wanted to introduce ourselves to remind you that we're all here, that we exist, and that's it. I got nothing else to say.
Good episode.
Good
Way
night,
to wrap
David.
it up. I think that was very smooth.
Well, what do you think about these semifinals? Are you happy about it? Are you unhappy about it? What are your feelings here? Give me some emotions.
I mean, I think everybody is in agreement that these were the games that it felt like we should be getting with these quarterfinals, but I would have liked one kind of Cinderella run, somebody to just provide a little spice to the semifinals. And we came really close to getting that with a few of these games, but, we're here sitting with the four favorites coming in. I think these were the top four in most people's power rankings. They were in ours
as well.
They were in the FIFA rankings, like you mentioned. So it feels kind of almost a little ho-hum, but now that we're here, we get some really exciting matchups.
I do feel that some of the upsets we had in earlier rounds robbed us of higher profile quarterfinals. Like the quarterfinals had drama, obviously. Most of the games were close, but it didn't feel. I've kind of felt an absence of spectacle in at least in the first two games, which were a little more matter of fact. Obviously, France-Morocco was pretty dull. And although Spain and Belgium went down to the wire of regular time, it didn't really feel like Spain was at great risk to me in that game. And we'll get to that, but So Saturday restored some of my faith in the quarterfinals of what was shaping up to be not the greatest round. Still arguably the least exciting round of games we've had at the World Cup so far, I think. But a double extra time night certainly helped that feeling. Although, I don't know. In terms of underdogs, I don't want to get in trouble with my Swiss friend, but God, they're fucking dull. For God's sake, if there's gonna be an underdog candidate, a Cinderella run, it just can't be them. I couldn't watch England Switzerland. That would have killed me. That would have been the worst semifinal ever.
Especially with Manzambi out, who provided a lot of the spark for Switzerland and a lot of the attacking, the bite in transition that led to some good attacking moments. Without him there, it kind of felt a lot like what we talked about pre-tournament, right? With this being a team that there's talent, but they're just kind of going to be a little slow, a little methodical, and it doesn't always translate to the best watch.
Manzambi, the Aston Villa player?
Yeah, that is official.
Seems like that's happening, yeah. They swooped on Newcastle. James Rodriguez contender. We got off to a slow start with our James contenders, and then just with a bang, all of them came good all at once. Pretty chuffed about that.
And a few in this round as well. Boadi, Says, and Manzambi didn't play, but his Swiss team were there. So,
unfortunately, we deemed Shelder too famous already to put on the list, but I'm regretting that choice now.
Which was weird in hindsight because we had Jan Diomande on our first draft as well.
Well, yeah, but we immediately eliminated him once
Yeah.
we saw the transfer rumors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shelter previously had been a big prospect before this and then kind of fallen on hard times after. I think it was Sporting where he went, right? It was somewhere in Portugal. So we were like, he's been a little too big a name in the past, but yes.
I regret that. Every casual's favorite thing to do is to pick the next superstar, who's clearly the next superstar, and be like, what a World Cup discovery, as if nobody knew about him before. So we were trying to avoid that, but
People are doing it with Erling Haaland.
yeah, they're like
Which is
breakout
crazy.
superstar. You're like, my God, man scores 40 goals a year. But speaking of potential Cinderellas, we were wondering pre-tournament. We were asking, there was a handful of teams that looked like they could be, the Morocco of this tournament. Like, Morocco had elevated themselves above 2022 Morocco, and thus were not eligible. And Norway we were looking at as a team that had obvious high-end potential, but also had questions in the back line and goalkeeper, some of which came up today or yesterday. And yet they were this close to playing in a World Cup semifinal, David. They end up losing to England 2-1 after extra time. And boy, were they the better team for a good chunk of this game, especially in the regular 90. Like, we're going to get into it in a second, but first, just like, best game of the round, easily, I think.
Yes.
Best
Not even
drama.
close. Yes.
Not even disregarding all the VAR nonsense. But, like, general feelings, thoughts. Give me a few.
I think this was a kind of normal game that we've seen from England over the last few rounds, in that they have not played particularly well. There's not been a strong team performance, but they've had the ability to rely on certain individuals. Normally it's been Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham. I thought Kane was pretty bad by his standards in this game, and Bellingham was excellent. It was a lot more reliance on Anthony Gordon. I was totally blanking on Anthony Gordon's name for some reason. It's like not Wake, the other winger.
I mean,
'Cause we talked about
Barcelona star
Yeah.
Anthony Gordon.
Someone we talked about as potentially like a weak spot coming into this lineup because of his previous performances so far at the World Cup. And I thought he was
Pre-Mexico game.
exceptional. Yes, yeah. And I thought he was exceptional, and just the ability to rely on individuals to at times kind of bail them out is something that I don't think we really anticipated or have previously associated with England, who typically play defensive, team-oriented. So it's kind of a unique approach from England, and makes sense, I guess, a little bit since they do have a foreign manager now.
I mean, I don't think it's intentional. I think Tuchel was pretty upset with the performance overall after the fact and got into a little, like, second-hand media scrap with Bellingham about where he was like, I'm angry, the performance is bad, and Bellingham's like, well, players played pretty hard. I'm like, I feel like you guys are going to hash this out just later, and the media's going to make a whole thing out of this, but I think Tuchel's right. Like England haven't actually been playing very well, and this one felt a lot different than the Mexico situation, which seemed like an obvious thing you just have to withstand and survive. But Norway was really on them for quite a large period of the 90 here, especially after... I mean, this game had a really weird pattern because pretty much nothing happened for the first quarter until the first hydration break. Like, Norway came out sitting super deep. England looked almost surprised at how deep they were sitting and weren't quite sure what to do. So there were basically no chances for 20 plus minutes. And then after the hydration break, it seemed intentional that for Norway to sort of like lull them into a little bit of stasis, the English, and then hit them really fast. Suddenly they're pressing high, they're winning the ball, and the next thing you know, Schjelderup is trying to play Haaland back post with a cross, and he accidentally sticks it top corner,
And this
which
is
Stu Holden was so sure was intentional. The only person on the planet that thought that was intentional, and he said
I
it like
think
6 times.
I think it's not necessarily intentional, but I don't think it was unintentional. I think he put in a ball aiming for the post and being like, if I miss to the left, it's a threatening moment on the keeper. If I miss to the right, I have Erling Haaland. And so it's kind of, no matter where he goes with that, if he weights it correctly, it's difficult and puts a lot of pressure on England. So I think it's intentional in that sense.
I mean,
But
I think he's playing the post. He's playing the far post as a delivery, and
I don't think he
hits
meant to
it
score.
too well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Holden was so adamant that he intended to score on that. Like, he kept bringing it up over and over, like somebody was like fighting with him about it. I'm like, dude, you're the only one calling this game. Like, what are you talking
I feel
about?
like, I don't know if it's purely an American thing, but the amount of reverence and like just the approach that American announcers have toward English games in particular is so extreme. And I thought this was like the best or worst, in my opinion, example of that, right? There were so many times where Stu Holden and I can't remember the name of the main commentator. Strong, thank you. Would say things that were just not true because they wanted to give credit to the players on the pitch instead of criticizing them, which is something that I feel like other commentators and British commentators in particular are not afraid to do to teams.
You could say British
players.
commentators perhaps trend too far in the opposite direction. They're like,
yeah,
so excited to criticize their own lads. I thought Strong and Holden were really irritating me this entire game. I think, but it is a thing with, I mean, because so many Americans grew up watching the Premier League that it's like, they form this sort of attachment, which I don't really understand. Like, as somebody that grew up supporting a Premier League club, I do not feel the need to root for England in the World Cup. Like, it's just, I feel like there's a way you can separate those things, but whatever. Anyway, after the hydration break, Norway comes out, they score, and then England look a little bit rattled by this change of energy, especially because they're operating in like 100-degree heat and humidity in Miami. And it was almost like Norway had sprung a trap on them in terms of the game plan. And then all of a sudden, Sorloth and Haaland are going through in transition, 2v1 versus John Stones. You know how this ends, except Sorloth never makes the pass to Haaland in transition. Instead, Stones is able to, it looks like live, he's able to sort of block off that passing lane, but if you see that angle from the opposite end of the field, there is a clear lane for him to pass to for like at least 2 seconds. Sorloth never makes it. If he does make it, it's almost definitely 2-0 to Norway, and all of a sudden England's really up against it. Instead, Sorloth holds it. Shot deflected. That was my JP impression. Shot taken, deflected, goal. Except no goal in this case. And enjoy retirement, I guess, JP. Whatever. We're still on American commentators, but yeah, it was a baffling moment from. And I wonder if this is where the Solbakken, like, having to play him out of position this whole tournament came back to bite them in the ass, because he's obviously not a winger. He's like a 6'5" striker, much like Haaland. And he never looked quite comfortable in that position, though he does a lot of good for the team and has done well starting there for the most part, like, in terms of his effort. But you have to wonder at this stage, like, is it too much of a square peg through a round hole? Should it have just been Bob starting out there to begin with, you know? Because Bob certainly makes that pass, I feel like.
Yeah, and I don't think he's a good fit on that right wing. I don't think he played well at all in this World Cup. I see what you're saying about, like, his effort was there. It's not like he wasn't trying to contribute to the team and wasn't trying
He's not
to
a winger.
make the
He's
right
huge.
runs. And yeah, it's just not his
He doesn't belong
position,
out there.
and he didn't know.
On the
didn't
wing,
seem
I
to
mean.
really know what to do at times. I just wonder if that France game, because if you remember, Sorloth did not play at all against France, and Oscar Bob got the start. And, like, I'm looking, his numbers look really good, but my recollection is that Oscar Bob was not actually very good in that game, and Sheldrup didn't play very well. So I wonder if that performance kind of sealed Sorloth's fate as the starter, when maybe Oscar Bob would have been the move, and you just kind of threw him to the wolves against a team that was way better than you.
I think Bob has looked good every time he's come off the bench, pretty much, in the tournament. So I mean, it's like, I get you play what got you there, what the formation that's been working for you. I understand, and Solbakken, to his credit, has not been shy to chop and change the wingers throughout the tournament. If something like at halftime in Brazil, he took off both Sorloth and Nusa and put in Sheldrup and Bob. So it's not like, you know, some glaring weakness. But this was like the moment of the game in many ways, and it was not the moment where you wanted Sorloth to have the ball in that position, needing to thread that pass to arguably the greatest striker in the world.
The other issue with starting Sorloth, right, is what we saw in the second half of extra time, where Erling Haaland, he's clearly dealing with something. I don't know what it was, but you could see at one point he basically stopped moving and was just a stationary target for 10 minutes before the halftime of extra time. And the only player they can have to bring on is Strand Larsen, who is a good player, but he's a hold-up guy, right? He's a target man, pump it forward, get your wingers to push past him. He doesn't score a lot of goals, but he's kind of big, so that's, I guess, what you have to do there. And with England sitting so deep, his Strand Larsen doesn't fit in that type of attack when you're trying to push on these low back lines, a lot of big boys in the box. Like, that's just not where Strand Larsen is going to find success. So now you've lost both of your threats from crosses.
Because Sorloth was off. Because Bob
Sorloth
came on
was
for
already
him.
off. Yes. Yeah. So you don't really have that presence in the box that you wanted late in the game. And obviously it's kind of a freak thing. You're not game planning around Haaland.
You're not
being
expecting
injured.
Haaland to take Haaland off, yeah.
Yeah. But it
Definitely not.
happened, and now you're kind of in the worst possible scenario for your team because you had to take Sorloth off earlier because he wasn't a fit in that right wing role. Too many R's and W's there. Got a little lisp going.
It's okay. I forgive you. So missing that opportunity to go up to Bellingham doing his Starman thing for England answers right before the break with what is essentially like, I mean, it's Gordon playing him into the box, but it's essentially a solo goal from there. And Norway defenders just sort of play off of him, and it looks like one of the things you fear about Norway, which is like the lack of talent in the back line at times, and the on paper, like a foursome that doesn't necessarily play off each other's strengths that well. Yeah, they lose Bellingham. They give him too much space in the box. He puts together a nice finish. We go into the break 1-1. And then at halftime, we start getting these images of the ball delivered from a Nyland goal kick, perhaps deflecting off of the SkyCam wire in the quote-unquote Miami stadium. And sort of chaos ensues on the Discord. FIFA later releases their little microchip in the ball wavelength thing that does not show any touch. Like, remember, this is so specific it could sense the hair that in Croatia's Mantanovic's hair follicles. That was the reason Croatia was not awarded extra time against Portugal in the round of 32. So but you watch the images and it clearly moves like unnaturally. I don't know if it was a gust of wind. Like, what are we supposed to think here? Like, I don't know what to make of any of this. This is so bizarre. I don't have a take. It's just weird.
I'm kind of with you. Like, I also don't have a take on this, but it's such a
You always
feels like
have
such
a take.
uniquely,
What do you mean?
I know.
You don't have
Such
a
a
take?
uniquely American thing to have happen, is it not?
SkyCam.
You know, like the SkyCam getting involved.
SkyCam.
We see it in American football. We on a punt. How many times a year do we see this happen? It's like 3 or 4 times a season.
It happened on a. Remember, it happened on a kick that was missed live. A field goal attempt hit a wire and was shot sideways. All of the refs somehow missed it, and it went down as a missed kick. The kicker couldn't fucking believe it. But yeah, I don't know what to like. I mean, is there enough evidence? There's not really enough live evidence to say, like, to the human eye, I think, that it deflected off of something clearly, like, to the point where they could have gone to VAR and said, like, we have to go back and have a dead ball here. The goal doesn't count. That would have been extremely harsh to do live.
I think that would have been totally fair, and probably they should go back and re-ref this post-game and say,
we should replay this.
England
Let's
would
replay
have
the whole
lost
game.
1-0 if you take this goal away. So they should
Let's
probably
replay the
be
whole game.
eliminated.
Yeah,
Yeah, if we have to.
This is just one of those things, I think. But after the buildup of decisions, much like things that seem to happen for Argentina, I can understand Norwegian frustration. So anyway, we go in 1-1 at the break. England have to take Declan Rice off at half because he gets like sick or something heading into the game,
I
and he
really
like
thought those reports were totally fake. Like, just, oh, he might not be able to play. Oh yeah. So I was like,
I
oh,
guess
they're
he was
like
sick.
trying to trick the Norwegians, get them to think like, oh, we'll have to game plan for if someone else is in there. But I
Instead,
guess,
they
yeah, it
tricked
was
themselves
real.
because Eze comes on for him, which was already a bit. You're like, okay, Tuchel, like bringing on a more holding midfielder for an attacking midfielder, like changing up the shape a little bit. But then it didn't work at all right away. It was like you're like, oh wait, that's why they play with the double pivot in this England team because suddenly Elliot Anderson is kind of fending for his own in build up there, and England just completely lost. They lost the plot in the like the progression of the game. Suddenly they're the ones pushed back. Norway's creating chances, and then Norway go ahead, gave it in the 55th minute again. Very exciting stuff. Scrambled in from a corner on a second contact, but guess what? Push from Erling Haaland on the first action of the corner, disallowed from VAR. Do you think this is fair? Should this have been disallowed?
I'm kind of torn on this one too because obviously,
God,
like,
you're
you do
coming with
see.
your
I
fucking wet
know,
noodle today,
I
David.
know,
Come
I
on.
know. I feel bad about it, but because he extends his arm, so I can understand
Yeah.
the decision to award a penalty or a foul. I guess not, obviously not a penalty, but a foul. However, I feel like that's the kind of contact that we see go uncalled 95% of the time, and
It's how Arsenal won
this
the
World Cup
Premier League.
has been a little, yeah. This World Cup has been a little more aggressive in refereeing corners. So I think it's kind of consistent with how this World Cup has been refereed. But I don't doesn't look like there's enough force for Stones to go down. So I think
It
to an
was
extent
Anderson,
Anderson,
wasn't it?
sorry.
Anderson makes a meal out of
I
it for
take
sure.
Yeah, I
As
take
he's
where
want
those
to. Like you, anybody would in that situation. I'm not blaming him for doing it. Like
Yeah.
yeah, Holland extends with two arm like it, especially when. But this is a VAR thing. Like as soon as you look at it in slow motion, it looks like an obvious foul. You watch it
Yeah.
in live action speed, and it's not an obvious foul. Like it seems like kind of part of the natural flow of that sort of physicality in the box, and like okay, maybe it doesn't really affect the goal that much either, does it?
It doesn't, because Holland's not involved in it.
Yeah, Holland doesn't get the touch like that
No.
that hits it onto the far post.
He
So
moves toward where the ball is, but he doesn't bring another defender with him. Obviously, Anderson's on the ground, but Anderson was too far away to have been involved in that anyway. He doesn't touch the ball. He doesn't occupy any of those defenders. And I do think this comes a little too close to the re-refereeing that we were told VAR was not going to do.
yeah,
Right? I
but
think
clearly
this is,
have been in the knockouts, as we've discussed a
Mhm.
number of times here. They've just changed their minds again on how they're like in the group stage. We're gonna let everything go, and actually use VAR like somehow related to the original stated purpose, with extra physicality on the field. And in the group stage, they're like, "Yeah, never mind. Just kidding. You thought you were getting this? Not anymore. We're done with that. We're getting involved again. We're getting our tentacles back in the mix here." And that's just what this game just reeked of VAR intervention. Partially, like, I mean, it's not the VAR officials' fault that they got involved in things that, are of this sort. It's just the nature of having it present means that something like this is possible, where it just has to keep changing the flow of the game and the path of the game because it's there to be used.
it's just more frustrating as well because it always feels like VAR is used when the decision will benefit the bigger team. Like, if you look at every VAR decision from this group stage, all the important ones, every single one benefits the team that is quote unquote bigger. Right? Argentina have gotten a few calls, France have gotten some. Like it always so it's even just more of like an emotional thing that it feels like it's taken away opportunities from the underdog, to use these kind of maybe tricky tactics to their advantage. But the bigger teams don't have to worry about that. they're able to get away with some things because it feels like it's never really used against them. And I'm not saying it's intentional, right? But it just kind of feels like it's always being used to the benefit of the bigger teams.
I think the most clear argument I can make to defend FIFA from corrupting the game on the pitch, off the pitch, yeah, sure, on the pitch.
So
I would say there's just no way that they're clever enough to hide a widespread conspiracy this great to get the 4 highest ranked teams in the world in the semifinals against each other. There's just no way. This is the same reason that there is no way the U.S. government has been hiding aliens from us for 70 years. You don't think anybody would leak that? Like, you don't think you think Trump would keep that silent? There's no way Infantino could run a network like that. They're just not capable of that level of organization. Maybe they were in the past, in the bladder years, but not at these days. They're way too messy.
Yeah, I feel like Infantino would be bragging about it if it was actually
absolutely
set up for this. I think
today I feel corrupt.
There is inherentness with refereeing, right? Like, no referee is necessarily going out there intending
inherent vice.
I want to benefit England today, or I want to benefit Norway today. They're going out and they're the same way everybody who watches the game is. They're saying, "Oh, Harry Kane goes down. I don't think Harry Kane's a diver. That's probably a card, right? That's probably a foul." They're seeing, "Oh, Jude Bellingham just got knocked over. That's going to be a foul. Patrick Berg gets knocked over. Come on, get up. You can do it." And I think there's a level of that.
Let's pick on Patrick Berg.
No, I know, but he's not a big name.
Bodo Glimt is a huge club. That's an international superstar in the making. 8-year-old Patrick Berg of Bodo Glimt.
He should be.
He should be.
He's a great player. He's much awesome. Better than people give him credit for too.
He's the man.
But like a referee who is used to reffing big European games, or I don't know who the referee was in this game. Oh, it was Turpin. Yeah, he can be pretty ticky-tacky, and he's ref big European games, so he's familiar with a lot of these English players who mostly play on teams in the Champions League and Europa League. And he's maybe not as familiar with the Norwegian players. And I think this applies to every game, right? Like, not this game in particular. I don't think this was... I think this one felt egregious because of the VAR use. But I also think you saw it in the Argentina-Switzerland game, right? Like, Paredes gets the yellow card on the Embolo dive that we'll talk about later because it's Paredes and he has a reputation for dirty fouls and for retaliating on players. And he was pushed down by Embolo shortly before that play, and then he goes over and Embolo falls down right in front of him. If I'm a referee, my first reaction is also probably Paredes is upset and kicked out, so I'm going to give him a yellow. And I think that's what happened in there, right? Like, players' reputations, team reputations, they impact how the game's refereed. And so I do think VAR has kind of exacerbated that because we're looking for things more when these big teams have things go against them.
Only this version of Argentina could benefit that greatly from a negative reputation of one of their own players in the foul call. It's so funny. I mean, it's not funny if you're Swiss, but whatever. Yeah, whatever.
It is a very Argentine
who's
thing.
Who's Swiss, anyway? Ever met a Swiss person? Are we sure they exist? I know one. It's cool. But of course, back to the game finally.
Yeah, sorry.
It is ruled out, and then because the shape of the game has started to go so far against England, Tuchel sort of spends the rest of the second half, I feel like, scrambling to tweak things back into shape. He makes a move. James, who's finally fit, I guess, for Anthony Gordon, which is a straight swap, and then later Spence comes on directly for O'Reilly, and then Rodgers for Konsa. So he's kind of like unusual player for player things where he's trying to like tweak the formation and how they're playing. And I feel like they were just chasing the vibes of the game that whole half and never quite found themselves. But then, to his credit, those moves paid off big time in extra time, especially with Spence, who was terrific that whole period and drew a penalty that was later VAR'd. Makeup call.
Yeah, well, I guess that one, there you go. That's an example, and that's what I was saying about always going for the big team.
But, of course, it was Bellingham that ended up winning the moment thanks to the player we assumed was the weak point of the the team in Nyland in goal, who
He
actually
had a
was their
great
savior
tournament up
in the
until
Brazil
this.
game.
Yeah.
You can't be mad at him. Like he won him. I mean, it was Haaland who won, but Nyland equally won them that game. And in this case, though, he just spills a really easy shot from distance for Morgan Rogers. He just pops out of his arms, essentially. He's kind of like in between, looks like a parry and a gather. And he just boofs it right into the path of Bellingham, who, of course, has made that run, because that's what he does. And, yeah, it's an easy tap-in for Bellingham. Then you mentioned that there was, like, the shock of Haaland coming off at extra time, halftime, down a goal. But he must have just been spent, like, as you say, like something was wrong.
Yeah, he made a run in extra time and pulled up from it, and he didn't grab any like specific body part, but you could just kind of see like he wasn't right.
Yeah, something was.
Maybe it was the having to sit down for a second during the between with regular time ending and going to extra time and just tensing up and not being able to work himself back out of that.
Something just went, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, he has to go off, and I mean, Norway were pretty cooked after that Bellingham goal. Just from an energy level, it looked like they'd expended so much energy in that heat that the way that goal was conceded in particular seemed like a step too far for them. They were sort of demoralized after that. They had all the ball in the last 15 whatever minutes, but created next to nothing in the whole extra time period. And that was kind of it. All in all, a very strange game, really engaging and exciting, even though it wasn't always that technically proficient. It was like, as you say, Kane and Haaland both sort of canceled each other out despite never coming into contact throughout the game. Like, neither had a very good game or was very involved. And it just came down to moments. And Bellingham captured the moments, and Norway did not in the end. And is it that simple? Am I oversimplifying it? Because Norway could have very easily won this game. Not easily. Nothing's easy in this world.
I think, yeah, it's a lot of it comes down to just Jude Bellingham has capitalized on every opportunity he's had the whole World Cup, right? So England have gotten away sometimes with not creating a ton, but I mean, at the same time, you can't criticize England without complimenting Jude Bellingham, because he kind of dragged this team offensively today, but their defensive shape has been great all tournament, barring a couple moments against
Dan
a
Burn.
really lively Mexico squad. Dan Burn coming in at the end has been amazing to see.
Comes in, elbows some people. Let's fucking go, dude. I mean, could Tuchel have had a bigger win?
Yeah.
Like,
dude, that last header away, he comes in so violently. I was like, that has to be a card. But then they just call the game.
Up, and then he stands over him. It's brutal. Dan Burn was born for this moment, dude. Imagine him. I would love to see him come on against Argentina, chasing the game in the semis. Can you imagine? Can you imagine little Alessandro looking straight up at him after they've gotten in some sort of tussle? I know they play in the same league, but
they would get in a tussle too, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Do you think Dan Burn's a power bottom?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
I think he's a power bottom. That's my guess. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, very strange game. Big picture for England. I wanted to ask you this: is there something I've been thinking about with them? Is there, because you could see in the first half when that first 20 plus minutes where Norway sat really deep, and England was just sort of lackadaisically passing the ball side to side, sort of half probing, too slow. Tuchel was like pacing the sidelines, like screaming bloody murder at them. He's like, fucking hurry up, like pass, speed, pace, all that shit. And I just wonder about this sometimes, if they fall into this old Southgate lull, I
don't know if this is a Southgate lull thing. I think
is it something that can't escape?
Intentional by Tuchel to use the hydration breaks as a way to, first you want to suss out the opponent and kind of see what are they looking to do, where are the weaknesses. And we've seen it with almost every single game up until this one, is that England have been reserved and passive in the first 20 minutes, get the hydration break, and suddenly have a burst of energy and a new attacking approach to the game. So I think it's been an intentional thing by Tuchel. And I think here, Norway responded by doing the same thing. And
Yeah, the
Tuchel saw
inverse
that
happened to
the
them.
reason he was so upset is because the players were not able to recognize that on the pitch when I think he thought they should have been, and to switch their mentality and to push forward right then. And so I
here's
think that might have been what happened.
That's an interesting take. Here's my alternate take on my question I posed, which is it actually perfect for them to have this Southgate piece in the back of their mind that, in theory, defending a lead in the Azteca with 10 men, you can rally around that sort of idea that in the back of your head that's been drilled into you for 8 years. And then you mix in this like spicy German who's like a braver tactician and I think probably more adept at it than I think we'd all agree than Southgate, especially on the fly. Is this like actually the perfect meld of things for England? Because now they have this sort of confidence in solidarity as a unit, this resolution, and calm organization with this little, extra tactical and energy element. Is that anything? Tell me I'm smart.
I think there's a good point about the progression from Southgate to Tuchel, because England historically had been a team that was ripe for the upset, right? Like, no matter how good they were, you could never count them as safe against even the weakest opponents. But Southgate kind of restored a lot of that solidity, like you said, right? Confidence in possession and confidence defensively. And
they
just
won
like
a penalty shootout.
Yeah. They did lose one as well, so
a rather important
very
one.
Important one. But I think he kind of restored a lot of the players in England's like understanding of, hey, we're a big team and we know how to play against smaller opponents and we can handle them and be safe and secure in those games. And then you add in, Tuchel, who's bringing a much more varied and aggressive attacking approach and kind of coupling those ideas. I do think there's a level of that, and it's like the right progression of managers to go that way as opposed to, going the other way.
I'm fascinated by this England-Argentina game. We'll get to that in a minute. First, I don't want to spend too long on this game, but Argentina 3-1 Switzerland after extra time as well. It's like Argentina doesn't even bother trying to play the game until they really have to, It's almost like they're finding different ways to challenge themselves, because instead of falling behind this time, like they did to Egypt 2-0, they scored early here with the McAllister header, and then just decided that's it, we're good for a while. Like, they just stopped playing. It's as if they just like turned the garden hose off and just like sort of dribbled slowly into the grass until nothing was left. And the Swiss were like, okay, I guess we'll be in the ascendancy then for a good bit of the game. And it resulted in Ndoye equalizing early in the second half. And then right where you think it's about to get scary for Argentina, the Embolo incident happens, which you alluded to earlier. And I don't know, do you feel like walking us through this, or do you just want to talk about whether you agree with the process and all that?
I can do my best walking through this. Doing the play-by-play and the commentary, not always my forte. But in this one...
Foul taken! Yellow! Yeah. No! Red!
Oh, yeah, I could do that.
Shot taken!
But in this one, Paredes has the ball, and Embolo and him are kind of pushing for it. Paredes goes down, and then Embolo's kind of going away with the ball, and Paredes, it looks like he kind of chops him up, kick to the heel of Embolo. And live, I thought that's what happened, right? I thought
Paredes
absolutely gets, yes.
You explained this already.
Absolutely gets the ankle, gets the heel. He gets a yellow card. But before play resumes, VAR comes down and they say, hey, mistaken identity, you should go take a look at it. Because Embolo, he clearly dives.
It's such an egregious dive, dude. It's so bad.
I'm not here for Landon Donovan's.
It's a very bad
for
dive.
Impact
No. No.
commentary. I think this is a pretty crystal clear dive. There's no contact.
It's
It
not
should
just
be-
a fall. It is a kick
It's
your ass back and do a dolphin
mhm.
like
The
motion.
hands are involved. The
Yeah,
feet are
it's
involved.
it's a
the whole
terrible
body.
dive. It's one of the worst
The whole
dives I've ever
body.
seen, actually. Like in a
Yeah.
game this big, it's incredibly egregious.
Now, my understanding is that mistaken identity is not supposed to be used in this scenario. My understanding it's for you gave the card to the wrong person, but you called the call correctly, is my understanding of what it's supposed to be used
Well,
for.
not anymore though, because they changed that for the World Cup, right?
Did they change? Okay. So
'Cause
maybe
this is
that's
what
where I was
happened-
wrong. Maybe I hadn't
This is
seen
what
the update.
happened in the U.S. game in the group stage.
Okay.
This exact scenario played out where it was a yellow on, was it Ream? They wrongfully gave the yellow to, and then I think it was in Ciso, who clearly had taken a big dive. And this
I
wasn't
think it was
like a penalty.
Almiron, but yes.
Almiron,
Yeah.
Almiron. It wasn't a penalty situation, but it was
Mhm.
sort of close to the box, if my memory serves. And so that was the precedent they set based on the
Yeah.
new configuration of the rules. So yeah, it's like fair game, but I guess I hadn't considered the possibility of it being used like essentially at the halfway line, like
Mhm.
it not in like direct involvement to an attack, but rather the attacking player running away from goal pretty far away, like 40, 50 yards up the pitch. It just never crossed my mind that that was a scenario in which it could be used. Obviously, it was used, and Embolo's on a yellow, so he gets sent off for a second. And it's like, at the same time, I've never felt so weird about a red, because it's like, was that an unsporting level of dive? Yes. Is it
I think it was.
yellow worthy? Yes. For
Mm-hmm.
the like how bad it is as a flop. But then I'm like, as a second yellow, it gets him sent off. And that combined with this new sort of process where that's not really something that could have happened in the past. It just does. It feels weird. It doesn't feel like so simple.
I push back on two things that I've seen pretty commonly is one, that because he's on a yellow already, he shouldn't get a second yellow. Like second yellow shouldn't be given out for diving unless it's in the box. I think
You're
that's
pretty consistent on this. Yeah.
a yellow card should be a yellow card when it's a yellow card. I don't care if you already have one or zero. The only time I think there's any discussion as to like, oh, well, he's already on a yellow is with like accumulation. I think that's the only scenario where you can have different standards between a first and a second yellow. Everything else, it should be a yellow card is a yellow card. I don't care how many he has. The other thing is like, oh, well, he shouldn't get a yellow because it's so far away from the box. So what's the advantage he's getting? Well, if he wasn't getting an advantage, he wouldn't dive. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. And I've seen referees give yellow cards for dives away from the box before.
Oh, yeah.
When they catch
There's no
it live.
rule against it.
Yeah. The issue is obviously the use of VAR
Yeah.
for this. And I am sympathetic toward Embolo because, like, I think he deserved to be sent off. It's tough and it sucks. And like,
It's
he's
stupid.
obviously going to be upset. But yeah, it was a stupid moment
very
to do. And I
stupid.
think this is one of the things that when VAR was first being implemented, that it was supposed to be addressing is, oh, it'll stop players diving because now we can see if there's actual contact. And so I understand that if it's not within the protocols to do it, yeah, it's not within the protocols to do it and they shouldn't do it. But if the protocols are set up in a way that allows for this, then I think this is the type of thing that we should be looking at VAR for.
Yeah. Is this just the sort of thing where they've set the precedent now, and it's like in 10 years we're like, oh yeah, well that was the first instance, but it's kind of standard practice and understood now? Or is it going to be like this weird outlier moment, where
I mean,
it's like
given-
that game was decided because of that, maybe?
Given
But,
FIFA's history, it's probably going to be a super weird outlier.
Yeah, most
My
likely.
guess.
Yeah. I feel similarly to you about that. The only other thing I'd say though is that like, if say the ref live on the pitch had spotted that clear dive, do you think you would have shown Embolo a yellow for that in the flow of play? A second yellow? I don't.
I think that would be discretionary, right?
Yeah.
And I agree. I think he probably doesn't.
So then VAR changed the outcome of that,
Yeah, that's
like
a good
pretty
point as well. 'Cause-
significantly. Not just because the ref missed it, but because on the field, I don't think he would have called that in the flow, which is kind of what we want in the end, right? Is for VAR to affect like the state of the game as little as possible and just to be there to correct clear and obvious errors. So I see it both ways, basically. I'm much like the
this was a
Swiss.
clear and obvious error.
Neutral. I got my neutral joke in. Won a pod.
Yeah.
But anyway, Argentina doesn't even bother scoring in regular time, despite having 30 minutes essentially up a man. They take it 20 minutes extra into extra time, and then rely on Julian Alvarez bending in an absolute worldie of a curler
After
from
a
distance.
terrible game too. He had been he did so bad, and I was sitting. I'm like, why is he still in? And then he scores that. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's why he's still in. That was, yeah, it was incredible.
They have having him, Lautaro, and Messi all out on the same time, while chasing a result is starting to be something because it's happened 2 games in a row now.
Well, I mean, that's 3 incredible attacking talents, and
Yeah.
obviously it's
I
probably
just haven't seen them play together really. Much
Well, you
on this team.
can't play them together in a normal scenario.
But it's like a package they can go to now that I feel pretty good about in a way
Messi
that I wouldn't have
can't
expected.
press. Alvarez can't press. Lautaro
He can.
but he's not like he's not good enough to cover for 2 guys who can't press.
There's no reason
you need
Julian
a different
Alvarez can't
formation.
press. He should be able to press.
Good
He's
point.
a
But he
young,
doesn't.
strapping lad. But yeah, I don't even know. I don't really have any analysis for this. It's just urgent. Like, what do you do with these guys? That's why I think. I mean, you can maybe get into a couple of your more historical reasons why this might be a particularly fun matchup between England and Argentina. But tactically, I'm almost like they've had very similar paths in this tournament where they have this clear, like, really high ceiling and just touch on it like in moments throughout games and never put in complete performances, at least in the knockouts. I've seen this like 3 rounds in a row now for both teams where they had to kind of like get outside their comfort zones of what they wanted to be doing and find different ways to win. So what does that look like coming up against one another? Like, I don't even know. It could just be utter chaos, and that's even without the added weight of their historic rivalry and dislike for one another. This just get really messy in a fun way. Messy.
Yeah, they're both teams that have been saved a lot by kind of individual moments and have not really put together a complete game in the knockout stages. I think for England, you could even argue the whole tournament, but that point notwithstanding, it's tough to kind of get a real grip on it because both of these teams have been so inconsistent within games. And I think Argentina have more like match winners in them, but I think England have the better match winners, right? Like, I think Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham would be the 2 best Argentine players right now. But I think Argentina have more guys that can just pop up out of nowhere and win a game for you. And I kind of feel like that might just be what it comes down to. Because defensively, both teams are really strong. And it's going to be tough to break them down, and you're going to need a moment in order to win this game.
Argentina finally had their first game. The one thing they did that was encouraging, that was unusual to how they played so far, was that they got guys other than Messi to be like match winners and to come up with the big moments. Messi had been doing all of that for them. England had that split between Kane and Bellingham, but Bellingham was still doing it against Norway. So I'm like, is there a game which would be very England where sort of the magic runs out? And then, as to your point, like, who do you trust from the other guys to come up with that moment? And I mean, I trust like Lisandro Martinez to score from half more than I do like Rashford to cut inside and finish with what should be his best shot from even 16 yards out. So I don't know. I think you're onto that there. I'll take Argentina narrowly, probably in extra time.
And then just since you mentioned some of the historic matchups, they do have quite the World Cup history, these 2 teams.
You don't
not
say.
Not to mention the Falkland Islands, but 1962 first matchup, it is England who come up 3-0 or 3-1 in South America, which was a pretty big result because South American teams have been so dominant in that continent up through the 60, well, really up through like now even, they do really well at home or even within their home continent. And England coming in and kind of putting Argentina to the sword really easily was a big result. And then 66, England get another win on their way. Their one and only World Cup victory. One of the games that has been pointed to as like mistreatment of the South American players and some of the reffing decisions in that one, but I obviously didn't watch it live, so I don't know how it felt with the flow of the game. The big one, 1986 World Cup, the hand of God goal from Maradona sees Argentina.
Don't know, never heard of it.
Diego Maradona, pretty good player. If you haven't heard of him, I highly suggest you go and watch some Diego Maradona moments. This one, it's the second goal for Argentina as they win 2-1 against England, and he uses his hand to score. Pretty clearly on the replays. But this is pre-VAR, so there's nothing England can do about it. 1998 World Cup, Argentina takes out a really good England team on penalties.
Beckham over the bar.
Yep.
Beckham skies the penalty. Not first for the last time.
Yeah, first of a few Beckham moments that would have him not well loved by the English public in this period. Argentina go out to the Dutch in the next round, which was also quite the testy game.
Usually is between those two as well.
Yeah. And then 4 years later, 2002 World Cup, England get a measure of revenge against Argentina. 1-0 this time, and that was, I think that was in the group stage.
Beckham redemption.
Beckham scored. Yeah. But I think that was in the group stage, and Argentina ended up not getting out of the groups because of that result. Yeah,
you know who's on that team?
On the Argentina team?
One Mauricio Pochettino.
Oh, yeah. That is... Yeah, I kind of forget that he was that good of a player.
This long, lush hair.
This was a fun group because Sweden topped it. And every game finished either with a draw or 1 goal difference. No wins
Freddie
by
Ljungberg.
2 or more. Mm-hmm.
Good player.
Really fun early 2000s Sweden team.
We're getting so far off track.
We are. Let's go back to the
talking about 2002 Sweden. It's happening.
Let's go to the other half of the bracket. Spain and Belgium. Pretty decent game to watch.
Hated this game.
But
hated this game.
Really? I thought it was a decent watch.
Spain is frustrating me because they're not playing in as gripping a style as I know they're capable of. They're being a little like laissez-faire, and it's working just fine. But now all of a sudden they can't, because this is a team that I feel like, despite my prediction of them winning and thinking they were the best team overall, I think it's France now. But Spain just haven't had, even against Portugal, haven't really been tested properly yet somehow, and are all the way in the semifinals, even though they, yes, had to win in the 92nd minute in the last round, and they had to win in the 80th whatever minute this round, 88th. I never felt they were that at risk at any point, and I wonder what happens when France actually like hits a banger and they're tested, because they haven't been, I think, really at all. That seems crazy given the closeness of the results, but
maybe this is just the reason I liked it is because I kind of like watching Belgium's like back six operate, because it feels like they're always a little moment from disaster, but have done such a great job of not actually having that disaster happen. You know what I mean? Like
Belgium's like 180 into being a competent team again has been so fast. This is such a weird team. The personnel is weird. Rudy is weird. The lineups are weird. The way he like chops and changes every game, and it both works and doesn't work simultaneously. This is just one of our most bizarre World Cup teams, I think, in recent memory. I have no idea what to make of these guys.
Yeah.
They're like falling apart at the seams and yet also congealing into a tight unit over time. Explain it. It's an anomaly.
Yeah. It's Rudy Garcia. That's what it is.
It's Rudy Garcia. It's whatever it's like he somehow has long hair and the short and the highest hairline I've ever seen, and I don't at the same time. His shirts get whiter, his pit stains get darker. It's a team and a man of contradictions. Anyway.
Meanwhile, Luis over there, bald. You know, very simple. Bald. You know what you're gonna get. It's pretty straightforward, and that's very kind of Spanish. The Spain team. They've been straightforward, very Spanish.
A little too straightforward.
Yeah. I was really disappointed with Yamal in this game. And I
In
feel
the
like it's
last game
kind of
too.
been, yeah.
Are they just
He's
asking him
doing
to? Is there too much
too
funneled
much.
to him? Like he's taking on a huge burden right now. Like he's part of the problem, right?
Yeah.
He's like doing this to himself partially, but I also feel like it's the result of him feeling like they're sort of lacking in options in the final third, and like the burden, feeling like the burden should be on him to create out of nothing. And I think it's this like kind of like negative cycle that's happening in both directions right now.
And it's something we've seen happen, I think, with more prevalently with national teams, but at club level for
Ronaldo.
teams that have Ronaldo, early Messi with Argentina was also what I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like teams will fall prey into this give him the ball and get out of the way mentality. And it's one thing that I think France do so well and why they are so good internationally is they have arguably the three best attacking players in the world. And all of them have been willing to make some sacrifice to fit into the team, right? Mbappe is not going wide. He's staying more central and he's dropping a little deeper than he normally would. Dembele is being very deferential with the ball and not dribbling as much. And Spain don't really do that with Lamine Yamal. They kind of say, we're going to have these 10 guys play our own game, and then you can go beat your man on a dribble and look for a cross. But
It's just
it
not what
makes it
they
a little
were
easier to
before the
defend.
tournament, though. Like that's not been
Yeah.
them, which is why it's weird to watch. And part of it is like, a healthy Nico Williams makes a difference because all of a sudden you have that pace and threat in behind on both sides, and Baena or Ferran Torres or whoever the hell you're putting out there, or Gavi, they're not offering that same like vertical threat. They kind of want to do the same thing as the other players in attack, which is touch in and get on the ball. And obviously Yamal wants to get on the ball, but it's just such a more direct and like rapid fire way of attacking that they just don't have right now. And it reminds me a little bit of like, obviously they're remembered as one of the great teams ever going Euros, World Cup Euros, that era of Spain. But in the games that they weren't at their best, they resembled that at times where they just sort of pass you to death, but not really advance into big chances that often. And then like maybe steal the one moment because the other team never has the ball anyway. So how could they even have a shot? Uh, Belgium essentially had like 2 shots today. I mean, they had 5, but it only felt like 2 real chances and they scored on one of them out of nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
like that's the only way you're going to score. Unless you're France is the thing. Like I'm not even sure anyone else can beat Spain but France. That's what makes
France
this
could have
game
the
so
ball.
interesting.
France could have 5 touches of the ball and 5 goals. That's how good their attacking talent is.
Yeah.
But I also like we're being critical of Spain. At the same time, they are 1 game away from tying the all-time record for matches without a loss, which ironically, from the Italy team that didn't make 2 World Cups during that run. But
Excellent.
yeah, so Spain 1 game away from equaling that record. It's going to be this game against France that we've mentioned. But yeah, I think there are some issues for France that need to, or for Spain that needs to be addressed. That a team like France is going to punish you for, and a team like Belgium just doesn't have the firepower right now to punish you for.
I would certainly favor France heading into this just based on performances, but I also wonder if Spain has that gear in there where I wonder this about like Argentina too. Like if they're when they're finally challenged to what could be considered an equal, or perhaps one even greater than them, if they have that like intuit sense of like a champion back in them that we saw at the Euros, where they just know how to like snap in and get back to that level. They haven't had to yet, so I don't know for sure. Portugal just didn't test them really in the way that we thought they might. So they're, as I said, a little bit untested, and I think that's what makes this fascinating, because I think Spain has the edge, but I don't know. Who knows? It's a great game.
And should we?
It's a great game. I guess we should talk about Morocco. We haven't even talked
France
about
and Morocco.
it's,
Yeah,
You can tell France are the favorites now because we don't even bother talking about them. We're just like, yep, they won easily. Nothing to see here. Like, it's not even fun to talk about. I saw somebody compare them to O2 Brazil today, which I thought was pretty apt.
I would say
Not
yes, but
necessarily the age profile of the star players. That's maybe one of the differences. But in terms of like the way it
The
looks
thing with
to
the
play
0-2
against.
Brazil comparison is that they missed out on playing the two other best teams at the World Cup because those two teams had it rigged against them on the field, like actually rigged. So
Yeah. So I mean,
yeah,
yeah, this is the first instance where they'll be. I mean, we thought Morocco would be their first real challenge, and then Morocco. I don't know if they just thought like beating the Dutch was their World Cup, but they just sort of stopped. The tournament kind of ended there. They just like didn't really play well after that, and I don't know why. Like this to me, watching this felt like this isn't a very American thing, but like when you grow up, well, any sports team really like the high school system where you're like either varsity or JV and you're scrimmaging against each other, like as an element of practice, and the varsity team is just beating the living hell out of the JV team. This just felt like that, where it's like the JV team gets on the field and they're like, well, this is for training so we can run around. And like maybe one of us steals a moment to impress the coach. It's like they didn't look like there was any belief from the opening kickoff that they could actually win this game or beat France to me.
I've been really, really impressed with Rabiot and Kone as we go through the knockout stages, and I know, but like the defensive contribution they put into the game, right? And the ability to, even when France concede possession, they're never threatened by that possession because they do such a great job of keeping the ball away from their back four, who is, I mean, it's got to be by far the best center back pairing, Upamecano and Saliba at the World Cup right now. They've been playing so well together. Digne,
Used
I
to
think,
playing
does
together.
yeah. Digne adds a little bit of defensive solidity that Theo Hernandez lacks as well. And I questioned it at first because Digne's performances hadn't been very good, but I think this game was a really good example of what he offers in the starting 11, especially against a team that has a player like Hakimi and an attacking winger like Diaz, who's going to shift more central and maybe not pose as many of those like wide runs where you need that pace to track him. But yeah, I know Rabiot is not a well-liked person for good reasons on this podcast, but I do think his performances and the defensive setup between him and Kone in particular has been really, really good.
Kone has really stepped up to the proverbial plate since he's been thrust into the starting 11 here. He's really acquitted himself. Like, we knew he was a good player, but I didn't think I expected him to sort of shine like this and like starting in this France setup. But I guess probably helps playing with a bunch of elite fucking players in every position except for left back, which might be where Spain would like to pick on there. If you have Yamal running straight at Luca Digne, I'd say that's a pretty good advantage to
I
build on.
almost wonder if it makes more sense to put Theo Hernandez out
I
there
knew you'd say
because
that.
of his,
God, such a
just
homer.
because of
This
his
fucking
I know,
guy.
but just because of the pace, right? Like,
Fuck it. Put Leao back
just
there. Leao would do great back there, wouldn't he? Not with Ronaldo. He can play
no,
anywhere. He can play in goal.
yeah. Um, but just because of the pace, because you don't have to really worry about the fullback getting in behind you. So when you send him forward, you're not too concerned about that form of counterattack. And so you can have Saliba pay attention to Yamal, right? In a way that if they had a really threatening fullback attacking wise, Saliba would get occupied. So I think like against Morocco, if you start Teo Hernandez, you're conceding a goal on that side. Because he's going to get forward, Hakimi's going to beat him on the counter, and Saliba now has two players to worry about. But against Spain, you probably don't have that happening. So I wonder if the pace could be better at just shuffling Yamal into Saliba to have him cleared up and have him do all the dirty work. Whereas
Look,
Digne, I think, could
he hasn't
get
been
beat
embarrassed
by
yet.
one. That's true. Digne's been good, so
Not
I don't.
yet.
I
Not
yeah,
yet. He definitely
it's
seems
not
like
worth
the
it to bench him.
he definitely seems like the weak spot in the starting 11 if you had to isolate somebody though, especially when you have somebody like Lamine Yamal on the other side on the right. Pretty good place to start from, I think. Morocco, David, had 0.14 XG in this game, which I thought was generous.
First half
From
they had one
Fabon.
shot, and it's Hakimi taking a prayer from
Yeah,
like way out, or like
in like
the
stoppage time.
far
First
corner
half
of the
stoppage
box
time.
in stoppage time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
France, like, even though the first Mbappe goal was technically kind of his touches in the box, it was on the very, very edge of the 18. And, like, they don't even have to enter your box to score because that first Mbappe goal is so ridiculous. Like, the technique, like, the defender does certainly pretty much nothing wrong there, right? Like, looks like he's blocking the side netting. He's got his hands behind his back. He's tight. Mbappe somehow both gets curl outside in to set it into the corner, but also gets that like up and down element to it. So it like all at the same time, and it was quite a thing of beauty. I don't, and at
First half,
that point
Morocco,
you're like,
one
what do you do?
touch from the opposition box. Just,
Yeah, what do you like? What do you do?
yeah.
I mean, like Elise, Mbappe, and Dembele, like as a transitional triangle running at you full speed is like maybe the scariest thing in world football in 20 years. Like, what do you? I don't even know what you do with that. It's horrifying.
I really think we might be part of the problem here as well, but Deschamps gets so underrated for how he manages this team and the way he puts them in positions to succeed. They all played together so well, which is just not something you can normally say about teams with this level of talent. And he's figured out a system that gets, well, it has to inherently limit all of your attacking players because it can't all be the star. It still puts them in a position to exit, to like show their best attributes and demonstrate what they do best. And I think there's that often gets overlooked because of the star talent on this team.
Yeah, I questioned whether they were going to be able to unlock that very thing between that, front four. And like, I mean, I've doubted Deschamps tactically before, but what you can't doubt is the man management aspect of this, where he's just the fact that he's got the the player background to the level that he does, combined with actually being in charge of this team for a decade plus now, maybe 12 years at this point, right? Like, he really is the boss. Like, if Mbappe is coming in and like you need to cede some control to Elise, yeah, that's not everyone's going to be convincing you of that. I think French teams have suffered from that sort of ego trip before, obviously. So yeah, it's really impressive to keep them all in line with one another. But then on the tactical side, like bringing Elise inside completely like revolutionized this team between games 1 and 2 of the World Cup. Like, they went from like scary, how do you defend them, to like unstoppable. And Elise, like, we knew Elise was world class coming into the tournament, but even he has still wildly exceeded even my loftiest of expectations for him. Like, I cannot believe what a good player he is. He's like the very, very top echelon of players in the world, I think. He's like a top 10 player in the world now. It's crazy.
I mean, if France win the World Cup, I think Mbappe is probably going to win the Ballon d'Or, but Elise would be the only other person consideration.
Well, Elise doesn't even have any like direct goal, and like he doesn't have any goals in the World Cup. And I saw a tweet that was like, oh, worth this much and doesn't have a goal. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Anyway, who are you taking, France or Spain?
I'm taking France. I think there's too much talent attacking wise for Spain's really, really strong defensive performances so far, but I think there's just too much attacking talent in France. And I think this is the only midfield that can disrupt Spain's possession in any meaningful way. So I'm going to take France.
I'm interested to see how Laporte is against this group of French attackers. That makes me a little nervous. He's been so good for Spain, but I had a not that high of opinion of him before he joined the Spanish national team pre-Euros, but we'll see.
Also a question, because does he maybe throw the game because he's from France?
Because he's French, yeah. It's a conflict of interest for him. I mean, but he did start for the semifinal that they won in the Euros in Germany 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that was the Euros. That's different. So.
It's different. It means more. It just means more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would probably lean France too, but I don't want to change my pre-tournament pick where I pick Spain here. So I'll take Spain in some sort of miracle.
Okay.
Didn't even mention they literally played this exact game in 2024. Both teams were in somewhat different spots, especially the French. But so this is a totally different thing, it feels like. Before we go here, forgot to ask, like, Morocco just sort of laid down and died before anything even happened in that game. Are we disappointed in Morocco? Like, I didn't think they'd go out and like go toe to toe 50-50 with France, but this was a really uncompetitive performance, and I feel like we should expect more from them after what we saw through 4 games of the tournament. They just sort of switched off the last 2 games, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is explained by the Saibari injury, and as much as I like El Canus, like I think he's a solid player. He's not a goal scorer. I mean, he's not like a goal scorer. You know, he'll score goals, but he's not a true striker in the way that Saibari is. So I think that's the excuse Morocco have. I just agree with you though. It felt almost like they resigned themselves to being uncompetitive in this game and didn't believe that they could stand up to this France team.
Which doesn't make sense because they're a better version of the team that, played pretty competitively against France in the semifinals of the World Cup 3.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't really understand why they laid down like this. And not just in the attack, like what happened to their ball, like progression. They started making tons of mistakes in the passing. And they stopped posing a threat. Like they were lucky to score 3 goals against Canada. Probably they took their chances in that game, but they didn't have many either. So I don't know. I just thought it was a weird way to go out after the heights of that round of 32 humiliation of my Dutch. After the fact, by the way, you see how easy it was for Canada to press them in the first half, and you're like, it looks even worse. Every time Morocco play now, I'm like, we sat back against that? You kidding me? They would have gotten walloped by France anyway, David. That's what I can feel confident about. Even if the Dutch were in that game, it would have been equally ugly, if not worse.
Oh, yeah.
So take solace in that. And on that happy note, I think it's time we bow out of the quarterfinals and into the semifinals. Maybe you'll see us on the social medias in the coming days. Like and subscribe. Smash that follow. And who are we cheersing to, David? I kind of feel like Solbakken should get a cheers.
Oh man, I don't
on his way out. Even can we do that for a losing manager? Have we ever done that for a losing manager?
I probably have, but every other team was expected to be here. So I feel like you got to cheers Solbakken.
Best of the rest. Cheers, Solbakken. You did well. The SkyCam did you dirty, buddy.